Notice, in accordance with the new copyright regulations, this episode of Quoth Raven is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we sometimes feature on this channel is kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address adults and inform them of said content for them to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of doctors coming on the show too. I might need one after seeing this show. No, I'm kidding. Possibility of adult language present on the episode as well. Rated TV 16 and up. And hello, everyone. It's Louis Bright Raven, your host for Quoth Raven. It is Friday, July 9th, 2021. And our topic tonight is the CW Network series, The Originals, which originally ran on CW from 2013 to 2018, I believe it was. But let me make sure I got that correct. October 13th of 2013 to 23 to 2018. That is correct. Okay, I thought it was. We're going to talk about season 1. I just started watching it. Part of the reason I just started watching it, I hadn't watched it before, was because I just watched Legacies last month by hint of just coincidence of going through the library and saying, oh, that looks interesting. And that was a follow-up series from that show, so I figured, well, I better watch some of the stuff that came before what I was watching. So that's basically why I started watching it, but it's a pretty interesting experience. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay. We're talking only about season 1. That's all I've seen so far. It was created by Julie Plec, based off characters and concepts from the Vampire Diaries, which she also co-created with Kevin Williamson, based on the books by L.J. Smith, The Vampire Diaries. It's directed by various individuals. It's produced by Julie Plec, Michael Narducci, Leslie Morgenstein, and Gina Girolamo. It is written by various individuals, headed by Plec. It stars Joseph Morgan. That's the guy in the top center, as Klaus Michelson. Daniel Gills as Elijah. That's the guy on the right to him. In the photo. Claire Holt as Rebecca Michelson. That's the female on the left. Phoebe Tonkin is not pictured, but her name is she plays Haley, a werewolf that has Klaus's werewolf vampire hybrid baby. Charles Michael Davis, who plays Marcel, and that's the black gentleman sitting in the chair on the you see picture. Daniela Pineda, who plays a witch character. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I apologize. That's carried over from the Vampire Diaries, I guess. Leah Pipes, who plays Camille or Cammy, and she's a human who has different interests with different characters. And Danielle Campbell, who plays another young witch who becomes a central character. She's used by several different characters in different ways. Eventually, she gets out of her situation and becomes sort of the antagonist leading into the second season. Production companies are My So-Called Company, Alloy Entertainment, CBS Television Studios, and Warner Brothers Television. It originally aired, like I said, season 1 originally aired in 2013 on CW. It's 45 minutes per episode. And a genre supernatural, fantasy, soap opera, drama. And yes, it is a soap opera. What it's about. Spinning out of their appearances in the Vampire Diaries, this series follows the Michelson clan, the original vampire clan, according to the legends of this um, universe, as they return to their old stomping grounds in New Orleans. The trio, Elijah, Nicholas, also known as Klaus, and Rebecca Michelson, are basically there to rebuild their so-called lives. Mostly, Klaus just wants to take back the city that he and his siblings ruled over 100 years earlier, whereas it is now currently overseen by one of his protege, a vampire named Marcel Gerard. Elijah mostly just wants to keep Klaus out of trouble and try to see Klaus redeemed for his sordid past, and Rebecca is along for the ride out of loyalty to Elijah more than anything else. But New Orleans isn't just home to vampires. There's witches and werewolves, and perhaps worst of all, humans to deal with. We come to learn that Klaus had a drunken one-night stand with a female werewolf, Haley, who is now pregnant with his child. Now, this would seem impossible, since why would a dead person like a vampire be able to have children? But the reality is Klaus himself is part werewolf and half vampire. Thus, the child is a miracle baby that generates all kinds of varied interest from the different supernatural circles of New Orleans, endangering Haley and her baby. It's up to Klaus and his siblings to try to protect them throughout the season, all while dealing with the political intrigue and their own centuries-old issues between themselves and their pasts. Now, obviously, I'm watching this show kind of out of order. I started watching Legacies first, which was the current series that they're doing, which is about the child, the baby, who is now a teenage monster hunter going to a special school for supernaturals, which I reviewed last month. But because there's just enough of hinting at that character's past, it made me want to at least see where the origins of her story came from. And that's what this first season is. Basically, it's her origin story, so to speak, in terms of her being born, anyway. So, season 1 is about the time leading up to Hope's birth and all the crap that went down because of it. This show is ridiculously soap opera-ish. There's way too many forbidden love triangles and hypocrisy between the characters run abound. And it looks, unfortunately, that's going to be a staple of the show to me. It's cute when it's teenagers in high school or early college. And okay, the creator, Julie Plec, along with Kevin Williamson, they did head up Dawson's Creek years and years and years ago. And you can kind of see the Dawson's Creek influence to some level of degree, but it just doesn't work with 1,000-year-old vampires and witches who come back resurrected time and again and have complete memory of their existence and hold centuries-long grudges against one another, and they can't seem to evolve past that one-dimensionality. It's not that it's not fun to watch, but it gets silly to a point. After a while, you just want the characters to grow up and move on, and they don't. The casting is wonderful, however, especially the lead women characters on the show, namely Claire Holt as Rebecca Michelson, Haley, Phoebe Tonkin plays that character, and Davina Clare, played by Danielle Campbell, and that's the young witch, who I'd said was getting manipulated and used by all the different parties. I like all these characters for the most part. Now, the guys, well, that's a different story. The actors are all exceptional actors. I got nothing against any of the actors as the actors, but their characters that they play they're all self-aggrandizing assholes, to tell the truth. They exhibit their self-servitude and interest in different ways, all claiming to be self-sacrificing so that others can have better lives, but it's all bullshit. And some of the women in the show see through this and call them out on it right away, and some get regularly abused by it. Rebecca's character is particularly tragic in this regard. The show does a very nice job of layering different sides and factions, agendas, and interests, and who is linked up with whom and how, but it's so soap opera-ish that it's like everybody's tied into everybody in some way that it gets overwrought at sometimes. And it's worse than some daytime soap operas and trying to connect the dots as to who is related to whom, who always slept with whom, when, where, how, and why. And no offense, but a lot of that probably could have been left out and moved the story forward in different ways, I think. But, that seems to be the deal of how they want to do stuff. Is that kind of relationship and who's sleeping with who and stuff. I guess I don't know, but anyway, even though this season does do a whole progression of big bads that they have to deal with in a way, um, there's still a lot of setup throughout the whole season, even as the season ends. Haley has her baby, and even then, tragedy must come about. Obviously, the kid doesn't die. Its hope is in legacies. But there's other tragedies, and I don't want to say exactly what I don't want to give it away for those who haven't watched it and might want to watch it. That having been said, most everything that came about was something that I knew was going to happen before it did. And on the one or two occasions where I saw something happen that I didn't see coming, it was so obvious that I should have seen it coming. It's all fairly well executed. The cast plays their roles well enough that I maybe want to see what's going to happen next. But to be honest, I'm worried that I'm going to figure out the entire series arc before I get halfway through the next season. And I'm not talking about season 2. I'm talking about season 2, 3, 4, 5, however many seasons it is. And that the whole thing, it not only be just a waste of time for me, but more like watching it just to see if I'm right. And I hate doing that. It's not a fun watch to do because then you're just like, yeah, you're bored if you're right. And if you're wrong, okay, now your interest gets perked up, but does it really match up with what your expectations were or what? So it's not that fun of a watch when you're watching something with expectations to be certain things. So I'm kind of worried about that if I do continue watching it. I'll probably give season 2 a chance to prove that they can surprise me. But I'm expecting that Haley will end up marrying her werewolf betrothed guy friend from season 1 that they just more or less introduced. That her and Elijah's relationship will never truly happen and just be tortured nonsense between the two characters for the entire show, which I don't like. I expect that Rebecca will eventually end up with Marcel. They've been lovers in the past, and it's like a forbidden love because Michael's her last name, Klaus sired Marcel, and he doesn't want her to be with him, and other things going on. And but anyway, I do expect the witches to come and go in the background as the villains throughout the series, whether directly or indirectly. Some of them, not so much villains as just antagonists wanting revenge for wrongs that cast upon them by the originals or by other vampires. But ultimately, to protect Hope, that Klaus and Elijah will sacrifice themselves, and maybe Rebecca will too, I don't know. But at least those two will probably end up sacrificing themselves to save Hope. And have Hope not be kind of, hunted down constantly by enemies. So if any of the regular viewers of the show have watched this series, let me know if I'm right as to where this is going. Because if that's where it's going, then tell me whether you think it's still worth watching. If you already know that's what's coming, I'd like to know. Recommended for ages 16 and up. I gave the series 3.5 out of 5 stars, which it means it's a little bit above average, but it's just above average show, and I do know that I'm not going to go back and watch the Vampire Diaries that came before that after watching this. I did learn that much, even though the Michelsons are in the Vampire Diaries. I'm just not going to go further back yet, because if this is as soap opera as this gets, how bad is it for that? It seems like they drop a lot of soap opera elements from what this show is to Legacies. Legacies has soap opera drama in it, don't get me wrong. But like I said, I think it works better with teenage characters more because teenagers always blow everything out of proportion. And everything is just so grandiose. The world's coming to an end because they got a hangnail, or the world's coming to an end because my sister got to date the guy I wanted to date, or whatever it is. But this, when you have these characters that are adults that have been hundreds of years old, thousands of years old, it's like, no, that's stuff they should be well beyond and past that drama. I guess they don't, obviously, but I don't know. I'd rather see other challenges for them to overcome, I guess, in that respect. I mean, how many hundreds of years do you have to tell your sister, no, you can't date that guy? I don't want you dating my son-in-law or whatever, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of weird that way. Um, and it's like there's other characters like Camille. Like I said, she's a human that kind of gets intertwined in the show. Um, at first, Klaus wants her to kind of spy on Marcel, so he kind of compels her to date him, and they end up liking each other for real. And she's like, "Well, now I can't date you because Nicholas will get mad because he wants me." I'm like, yeah, I just no, just don't make it so complicated, in that respect. Um, there are some interesting reveals at the end of the season. Um, there is a human. She's posing as a human. She's not really human. I think it's pretty obvious right away that she's not human. Um, not just that because she plays a certain way, you know, evil type person, but since she claims to represent the human faction and does certain things that humans would do, the reveal of what she really is kind of it's a little bit eye opening, I guess you could say. I mean, it's not surprising to me. Um, there were certain ways that the character acted that kind of hinted that she could be what she is, but I wasn't, so I wasn't surprised by it. But it wasn't something that I was like, oh, she's definitely that. So they did a decent enough job of hiding but revealing it. Um, favorite character is probably Haley. I think it's amusing that you wouldn't know Phoebe Tonkin, the actress, is Australian. She gets rid of her Australian accent very well in the show. When I heard her speaking otherwise in her normal voice, it was like double take moment. What? But it was cool. Claire Holt, of course, is also Australian. So it's very interesting to see these characters, these actors that are not American, come over here and do these type of shows and do them as well as they do. Um, I think a lot of people probably um, really hate the Klaus character, played by Joseph Morgan. Um, I'm not fond of Klaus by any means. I think he's a complete ass, but um, I don't know. Like I said, all of the guys in the show are kind of self-assured, egotistical, controlling jerks in their own way. Klaus is just like the most obvious, I guess, about it. Well, he doesn't hide it; he's straight up with it, so you know what you're getting. Whereas Elijah is kind of like this noble gentleman until it's time to not be noble gentleman and be a possessive prick. Uh, um, you know, um, there's other characters like Marcel. Again, he's always talking about how he's always protecting family and he's always about protecting the city and doing what's right for the city. But ultimately, he's pretty much doing what he wants for himself too. He sacrifices people that he claims are his friends, um, doing stupid stuff that he shouldn't have been doing. Um, and obviously he pays the price through losing those friends, whether they're killed or whether they're not a lot allied with him anymore by the end of this first season. Um, and there's a wonderful reveal with the witches at the end of the first season that leads you into the second season as to who might be the head or lead antagonist for season two. I don't want to reveal that necessarily. So, um, the one thing that did bother me though was there was a cool witch character. Again, that was the character played by Daniela Pineda. Um, Let me see if I can find her real quick. Sophie Devereaux, that's the name of the character. Of course, she's a witch of the French Quarter of New Orleans, and her daughter, or not her daughter, her little sister, is one of the witches that is chosen to be sacrificed to put um, lifeblood back into the energy of the earth and rebirth them as resurrect them, so to speak, as powerful witches and feed energy back into their clan. And she's not. She's like, no, you don't need to sacrifice my sister or these other girls for that. And that's kind of like where the whole arc of the whole storyline was. And unfortunately, she does get killed in the story um, because of her interference with that action at a later point. Um, but I was like, I wanted to know more about that character. Of course, she was a carryover from Vampire Diaries, so I guess in a way, if I wanted to just know more about her, I'd probably have to watch Vampire Diaries. But it really doesn't matter now if the character's gone, unless they somehow resurrect her for season two or three or something, which I don't think they will, um, for multiple reasons. But good actress in there who played that role as well. Like I said, um, so it'll be interesting to see what happens um, as Davina, which is the other witch, uh, one of the four that were resurrected. Only she never did get resurrected, I don't think. I'm trying to remember what happened now. But she was one of the ones that was supposed to be killed and put into this sacrificial thing, but she was taken out of it, and that's what caused the whole problem for everybody. She doesn't like the Michelsons for multiple reasons. Um, and she becomes Marcel's adoptive daughter, and she becomes the regent of all the witch covens in New Orleans ultimately. Like I said, she wants to destroy the Michelsons for multiple reasons. And Marcel, even though he's kind of dumbass about it, he tries to help her with it. But there's stuff that's going to happen down the road. So I don't want to get into what's going to happen with that, but it'll be interesting. I'm told that there'll be more Michelsons introduced in later uh, seasons. Like there's more brothers, more siblings to the three that we are known from season one, um, and that they'll play a heavy role into what leads into the futures of the characters and what leads for Hope as well. So um, we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'll see what happens if I can get a copy of season two. I might watch it. I don't know for sure. But this is kind of what goes on with these supernatural soap opera dramas, and this has been going on for decades. I mean, it's the same kind of shtick that you got from Dark Shadows in the '60s, early '70s. It's the same shtick you got out of Buffy and Angel and Charmed in the '90s. Um, you know, in the early 2000s. So yeah, it's just this generation's era of it, and It's interesting that the people producing it are the same people who are producing for the same kind of dramas, just without the supernatural element. For CW, back when it was a WB 25, 30 years ago. Like I said, this is Julie Plec and Kevin Williamson, who created Dawson's Creek. Um, Kevin Williamson created Dawson's Creek, but Julie was on production and worked with Williamson on that series. And you can feel the Dawson's Creekness to it in a way. Um, but it's just, it's an amalgamation of different things. And I wasn't really, I think that's kind of why I got the 3.5 instead of a better rating. It was because for me, I was kind of distracted by comparisons to everything else it's dealing with. The fact that they went to New Orleans, um, and talked about the plantations and how they got Marcel out of the slave life and all that stuff was very much Anne Rice and the French Quarter witches, and all that stuff was Anne Rice, Interview with the Vampire, Louis and um, oh shoot, I can't even think of their names. Lestat. Um, and I was like, Louis is Elijah, Lestat is Klaus, and Rebecca is the little girl that never grew up, character from Anne Rice. Um, that was played by Kristen Dunst in the movie with Tom Cruise, and I was like, only of course, Rebecca in this show with Claire Holt's an adult, but there's elements of her character where she's withheld back to being a child in a way, and she's treated like a child by the other two guys, and I just, I was like, this is so, I could just see the parallels, and I was just like, I've said this many times before: be original, be unique. Don't make me end up comparing you to other things because that'll always drag you down in the end. And that was kind of what my hangup was with the show in that respect. Um, but again, this is just what they do. This is what Hollywood does, and it's not that they don't try, and it's not that they're not going their own direction with it. They are. It'll be interesting to see where. Like I said, I'll probably get a copy of the DVD on season 2 as well. So, um, just to see if it's worth reading or worth viewing, I'll probably try a few episodes. Um, I was supposed to also review not Teen Wolf, Wolf Blood, which was a 13 issue, uh, 13 episode, pardon me, season. Didn't get a chance to watch it all, so that'll be next week's show. And then in 2 weeks for Friday, we're going to be reviewing the complete first season of Pennyworth, which is Alfred the Butler of Batman before he was Batman's butler. He worked for MI6 or some other secret British intelligence group, and that'll be his adventures. And I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. We'll see where this goes. So that'll be in 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm going to continue this supernatural teen drama um, type stuff going in on next week's show with the Wolf Blood series, and maybe if I can get a copy of the originals season 2, maybe I'll review that as well. We'll see what happens. But that is pretty much the show tonight. Wish it could have made it a little bit longer. Just been kind of crazy. The weather has been kind of cruddy last few days. It's affected my ability to even uh, get online, let alone run full episodes. But tomorrow, I will be on to finish the live draw of Ryuk from Death Note. And I think if I can get a guest or two on, maybe we can do a comparative live draw or something. We'll have multiple people doing something. I don't know. Gotta go talk to a couple of people, see if they're available. Okay. Hopefully my signal is not breaking up because I just got a signal notice that maybe it got broken. I don't know. But anyway, um, we appreciate you watching the show as always. If you want to reach out to me, you go Lewis.BrightRaven on Facebook, at LewisBrightRaven2 on Twitter. You can see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You're watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven on YouTube. If you have questions, commission requests, anything like that, reach out at Quoth the Raven, LBR72 at gmail.com. And if I don't reach back and contact you back, try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. On Mondays, we have comics, news, and reviews. Wednesdays, we have What Did You Get This Week, where I talk about what books I bought at the comic shop or what I bought from the library or whatever I got in the mail from crowdfunding. Thursday nights is Roundtable Talk. Usually I have a guest to do topical discussions. If I don't have enough guests, I'll do a live draw on Thursdays instead. Friday night is genre night, Friday night features. And each week we try to do a different genre, sometimes with guests. Again, we'll come back and finish this topic with Wolf Blood and maybe original season 2 next week. And then after that, we'll do Pennyworth. And again, on live draw Saturday. Now, tomorrow, I don't know if I'm gonna try to be back tomorrow, but tomorrow is my father's birthday. He turns 71, I believe. No, is he 71? What do you think? No, 78. Yeah, 78. Crazy. So anyway, it's his birthday, and so I don't know if he wants to go out and do something tomorrow or not. But if he does, then I won't be here tomorrow. But if he wants to stay home and just chill, then I'll be here for live draw. Okay? Definitely will be here on Sunday. If you like this video or you think others might, then hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get support from this channel, give content from my channel. And I thank you for your support. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And that's all for now. We'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.